Okay, friends, we're back. Today we're talking negative attack angle, how to hit down on the irons and wedges, controlling low point, which is really what controls attack angle, and then something what I'm calling the chip shot progression, how you can apply some of the technical aspects that we've learned about it. So before I go any deeper, very quickly, if you're enjoying the content that I'm posting recently, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel if you're really enjoying it, maybe like the videos that you're seeing that you enjoy. Comment, especially comment if you're interested in seeing any topics I haven't covered yet. I'm spending every day thinking about different things I can deliver to you guys, how we can help each other play better golf. That's what this all is about, okay? So let's talk about it. Negative attack angle, hitting down on the ball. I was actually inspired this morning by a lesson I was giving, focused heavily on hitting more down on our irons and wedges and controlling our low point to do that. So let's talk about it. The club is traveling on a vertical. We're focused on the vertical side of the arc today. It's on an inclined plane, but today it's all about the vertical elements to it. So it's going to swing up and down, right? It starts at the bottom, goes up in the backswing, comes back down to the lowest point, and then back up again. So controlling where that lowest point of the arc is in relation to the ball is ultimately what controls attack angle. If my club bottoms out A after impact, that will create a negative attack angle hitting down on the ball. If I bottom out the club before impact, it should then rise or ascend through it. What this is not measuring is how deep the arc goes, okay? So when we are hitting down on these irons and wedges, ideally the club does hit the ground following that ball first contact. And with driver, we don't want that club hitting the ground at all. Gonna bottom out before, hover over the ground, and then swipe up through the ball. Okay, cool, so let's talk about it. To push that low point forward, what we know is we need the majority of our weight in our lead leg and foot. Okay, we talked about that in the how to use your legs in the golf swing video. So that's one thing. You can also mess up a little bit the hands and arms. We're going to save that later for the video. Okay, so the majority of your weight should be in the lead, leg, and foot. If you're really struggling in full swings, the first thing I want you to do is double check that you can create a negative attack angle easily with a chip shot, right? We're going to go narrow stance, extra weight on the front foot, maybe 70, 80, even 90% forward, and then you're just going to turn back, turn through. Not much arm action, just going to chip it out there, hopefully create that negative attack angle with a low point that's A after impact. Okay, we shouldn't push forward unless the chip shots feel easy to do that with, okay? Now, once that's handled, we can move through what I would call this chip shot progression into more of a freezer drill, where we create more of the dynamic shifting that we see in a full swing, where we then ideally still deliver this negative attack angle. So, we talked about in the how to use your legs video that the best players are shifting early, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go about halfway back and stop, shafts parallel to the ground, and a takeaway. About 70 or 80% of my weight is in this right leg now. What I'm going to do is shift back into the lead leg and deliver the club sort of as like that 1-2 punch. The pause will help me hopefully feel the sequence of all that. I got to get the weight forward before the club comes down. So pause, weight's in the right leg, shift, deliver. Let's see, wasn't my best work. Should still be down, hopefully. Good enough. So once the chip shot's feeling easy to do, we bump it up to the next phase here where we're gonna set up like I just did, shift into the right leg. And I think that secret sauce is that you're gonna let the club continue to swing back as the weight starts forward. That's a little bit of like the X factor that we sometimes talk about or hear in the swing, or at least it can help create it. It's that moment in time. We'll save X factor for a different video and dive into that rabbit hole. But once we're creating it with a chip shot and you can create it dynamically with that kind of freezer drill, you're only one step away, probably the easiest step, just linking your takeaway into that position and then carrying on into impact from there, okay? Whenever we're looking at the swing or working on the swing, we're always looking at the 3 Ps. Preparation, how you set up, pivot, which is most of what we talked about right there, sequencing the pivot to create more of this dynamic. And the last P would be the positions, how your hands move the club through space. In the session this morning, we also had to look at the positions to help really push things over the top. Like I mentioned earlier, even if all my weight's in the front foot, I could still maybe flip or early release the club, sending the club head past the handle, making the club too long, too soon, and that could still mess up my low point, okay? So from a position perspective, there's 2 things we added. The first thing we did is make sure the grip's kind of nice and loose, not too loose, but not tension in the wrists, because we want more hinge, okay? A slightly bigger hinge. He had sort of a medium hinge. A bigger hinge is going to push the club or pull the club further behind the handle, which now it's going to take more time for it to come back around and overtake the handle, which can delay that dynamic that can sometimes cause us trouble with the club head getting too long and bottoming out too soon, okay? So more hinge in the backswing, and then we added sort of a little Tommy Fleetwood straight arm finish to balance things out. So it ended up being more hinge going back and a slightly slower release going through. But again, it's hard to restrict the release. So we were just trying to feel some straight arm finishes like Tommy does on tour there. And that was really helpful. Sequencing the pivot that way, adding a little bit more hinge, and then ultimately with that, I think that straight arm finish does is it creates more turn going through and a little bit less of this arm and hand release. Okay, so hit down on it. We got to get that weight forward. Make sure it's easy to do in chip shots. Then add that sort of chip shot progression, that freezer drill where we get into the right leg early, then back left to deliver it. If you're still having issues, make sure that the club head's not overtaking the handle, maybe more hinge, maybe a straight arm finish or that feeling to help train it. That could all be very helpful. Again, if you like the content, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, like the videos you're enjoying. And again, I'm always thinking about new things to deliver to you guys. So either comment on one of these videos or shoot me a message on Instagram and let me know what you're looking to see. Okay? Until next time.